Hello and welcome to Magical Witchy World TV. I am Star Ravenhawk. Rhonda, I'm not hearing you at all. Rhonda, please tell me you're there. Okay. Tonight we're happy and welcome to welcome KIKI Keskinen to the Magical Witchy World TV.
Hi, I'm Rhonda Allen, and welcome tonight to Magical Witchy World. That's okay?
I'm hearing you. I'm not sure if things are slow on your end, but nothing's happening on your end.
hmm Things are slow on my
Okay.
end, but and tonight we are proud to welcome KIKI KESKINEN to the Magical Witchy World TV.
Hello.
Hello,
Hi.
Kiki. I hope the speed is better now. I don't know. It says everything is fine, but it seems to be moving very slowly.
Yeah, so it's
We are
lagging.
having storms in my area, so it could be the storms in the area. I don't know. But welcome, welcome, welcome to Magical Witchy World TV.
All right.
Thank you for having
So
me.
I was so excited to have
Yeah.
you. So before we begin, we want to share with everyone your bio. So let me go ahead and read through your bio. Fresh from teaching at the Pleasures of Beltane Witch Camp in California with the Reclaiming Collective, Kiki is the founder of Witch School in Canada, an eclectic witch with lineage from the seventh generation Celts in Ireland. A garden love witch, actually, Kiki lives sensually and kindly on the indigenous lands of the unceded Mohawk and Algonquin in Canada. She teaches a basic love affair with nature through witch magic. She also is a university professor in communication at both Columbia University and Carleton University. Kiki believes sex and sensuality for the betterment of nature, offering spiritual healing to ourselves and the land around us. And Kiki can also be found on her website,
All
www.witchschool.ca.
right.
So, welcome again to Magical Witchy World TV. Thank you so much for being here.
Yes, yes, yes. We're
It's
happy
really
to
a pleasure. And you know what? If our speed is slow, I like slow.
have.
Right on.
It's all good. It's all good. We adapt. We
Me too.
adapt. Okay.
That's it.
So we wanted to kind of begin with some quick questions for you, or rather our Q&A. So we we ask everyone the same questions basically, and they all give so many different unique answers. So it's always great to share that with everyone. So for yourself, I know you've been around for a while in the community, whether it's in Canada or otherwise. But throughout your journey, I wanted to find out if you gave yourself a different name or title each time. Not necessarily saying like a priest or a priestess, but actually the word. What did you call yourself? Light worker, witch, Wiccan, that kind of a thing. Because everybody seems to have done a journey of what they wanted to call themselves and how comfortable they felt doing that. So we would love to have you share that with everyone.
Yeah, I think from the very beginning I was like 4 years old running through the forest and the ferns naked with a pair of rubber boots on and I knew, damn, I was a witch.
Love.
That's it. And I've been a witch ever since. That's it.
Okay. All right. That's
That is
great.
fabulous. That is fabulous. So, I mean, at the age of 4, that's literally a young sprite. So you were tiny. You were very little. But so I guess what we're seeing here is that you came to this kind of organically. It's what you felt. It's what you felt within you. Um, tell us a little bit more about what you were sensing. What were you sensing about the world around you and your place in the world and how you identified as witch at such a young age?
It's like child being a child that is a little bit neglected in the 1970s kind of always felt like no one was watching, and you had this kind of freedom you don't have anymore. And like as long as you were home for dinner, you've like kind of mapped your day if you were lucky, you know? And I had lots
Mhm.
of forest around me and no one watching. And so I made it up as I went. I was a single child. I just got to go. And that left me to my imagination. But you know, I was
Right on.
adopted. And so as an adopted child in the 60s, you
Mhm.
didn't know what your story of origin was. And I didn't learn my story of
Mhm.
origin until I was 36, like what my bones were saying.
Wow. Yeah.
But it matched what I was doing. And so at
Right.
36, when I met my
Yeah.
birth mom and my birth dad, and they started explaining to me my Celtic lineage and that I come from a long line of witches and
Mhm.
healers from Ireland, it was like, oh, damn, that's exactly what I've been experiencing since I was 4 years old. Is making
Wow.
the potions and creating the healing spells and commanding attention from the spirits with the help of nature.
Wow, that's wonderful.
That is
Yeah.
powerful. That is powerful.
Right.
Wow. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So, from your point of view, not anyone else's, but yours, what does it mean to be a witch, as you are right now in this world and, for you yourself?
Absolutely. And it's such a great question because I think it is a personal
It
answer.
is. It is very much so.
So for me, it's like the wick of the candle, and I love to trance out on candlelight. And that is like the wick of the candle bends, it shapes, and it sparks. So what that means for me personally is to bend means to adjust, to sometimes compromise, to build connections into the patriarchy, into the empire, change from within. Like I teach in university models. That's a hella patriarchy right there, and a power dynamic. And I'm going to do everything I can to build heart and empathy within that classroom environment.
Right.
The
Beautiful.
spark is like, let's change shit up. Like, let's activate.
Yeah.
Let's engage people in their passion. They might be angry, but anger has to do with love. And so let's
Yeah.
harness that like Pele energy. Let's spark some stuff. Let's make it for the good of the world. And then, to like to bend, to shape, right? To shape shift. Like sometimes we have to like adjust to the world that we're in. I know when I'm in nature and if there's a windstorm or there's a heat storm, like we have to adjust. We have to always
Yeah.
adjust our course. And so for me, being a witch is to bend, to shape, and to spark.
Wow.
Love
Right.
that. Fabulous. That's huge. Thank
It's a
you.
funny thing, but as you were saying that, I thought of the movie Barbie, when the mother of the young girl, um uh she was on a tyrant, a tirade
Mm.
of what women are in the world. And she said that we
Mm.
bend and push ourselves into so many, and transform ourselves into so many areas. And she named off this slew of things of what women do. Not that men don't do it as well, but what women are in this patriarchal world, and how we have to shapeshift into different segments of ourselves. So it kind of reminded me of that as you were saying it. So
Yeah, I
Interesting.
totally relate to Weird Barbie in that movie, but
I still have to see
I
the movie, so
actually,
this is
yeah,
all
you're
new.
right. You're right. I think we all love that character because look who was playing it.
I haven't seen it.
Girl, you would love
uh,
it. You would
and you
love
know
it.
what? Like,
I have to see it yet.
it's a hyper like coloristic and hyper reality movie, but it's the start of a conversation. I don't think it is the full conversation, but I really appreciate that, Star, that you recognize that it's not just a women's challenge. It's like anyone outside of the pious center,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
Mm,
And like
great
that's
way
the
of putting it.
historical piece. Like, damn, anyone who doesn't conform is dealing with that combination of love and anger, like
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was just
That's a
interesting.
great
Yeah.
way of
There's a
putting
lot of
it.
relatable things in there, but yes, we'll discuss another time about
Gotta
Barbie
watch it.
further.
I have to
You gotta
see it.
see it,
No,
and then we'll
lessons,
have a show
lessons.
with
I
us
know that there are
discussing
lots
it.
of
Yeah.
lessons.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So,
Okay.
so how is magic a part of your life? How do you incorporate it into your day?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in truth, sometimes I lose it, and that is like, as a witch that's the founder of Witch School here in Canada, we have an eclectic witchcraft. It's a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and sometimes I lose it. Like, I mean, I don't know about you two, but sometimes I lose faith, and I have to really get back with nature.
Yeah.
And for me, like just touching a tree and breathing like oxygen that the tree is expelling, like
Yes,
that to me is incredibly magical.
Yes. It is.
agreed.
Being around fire, whether that's a candle or I'm burning herbs or a campfire in the background, like that to me where I get to trance and I lose my
Yeah,
monkey mind, like that ba 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 ba, and I just let go and I just space out and let it be.
Yeah.
Giving myself permission
yeah,
for that. And then there is a time where I take action and I feel like, no, I'm not going to let that little thing go by. I'm going to take action. I'm going to write letters. I'm going to be an activist. I'm going to not take shit. I'm going to stand up for
yeah.
people that are underspoken, underrepresented. And
That's good. That's
that's
good.
part of magic, right? It's like
That's huge. Absolutely.
activism is magic. Sometimes like my daughter's a trans woman and I feel like she says to me, she's like being joyful is my radical act of transformation. Like I am being an
Well
activist
said.
by being joyful as a trans woman. I'm
Right.
like, yeah, like you are the first generation of women that are seeking like just joy in life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
It's a big deal.
that is
Big deal.
powerful.
Yeah.
That absolutely so.
All right.
I just want to mention we have a few people in the chat and somebody has a question.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for that to come in and we'll just come to you with that once it comes in.
Okay. All right. So in the meantime, we'll go on and with another question, and then we'll answer them as they come in. So tell us a little bit about what's important to you in general. I mean, you kind of mentioned some of it there, so I'm going to kind of segue into that a bit.
Well, in Toronto, I'm hosting a sex magic workshop. And lots of people are like, "Oh my god, do I have to take my clothes off? Like what are we doing?"
No, you don't. You don't.
No, you don't. I mean, sex has been
Oh,
given all kinds of layered stories to it,
Yeah,
but I think it's magic.
it is. It
mhm,
is.
Um,
mhm, for sure.
Connecting with nature in whatever way you feel comfortable. The wheel of consent, and recognizing that pleasure is an act of like incredible magic right now. Like it is activism to stand your ground and say, I'm a human being with a desire for pleasure in my life. Most
Right.
people look at you and go, you don't deserve it. Yes,
Yeah,
we do.
yeah,
Yeah.
Because it gives
yeah,
us energy. It gives us life force.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if
yeah,
we can feel sensuality just in nature, it doesn't have to be sex or fucking or an orgasm. It's just sensuality
Yeah.
and understanding like just plunge your hands in a bowl of olive oil and enjoy what the olives are giving you right now.
yeah.
And that to me is sex magic.
Okay. That's awesome.
Right on.
Okay. Did the question come in, Rhonda?
This is actually a divination type question. So I guess for divination, it's asking when somebody's love will come to them or speak to them normally. So that is a divination type question.
I love a good divination
Uh,
question.
so the question is, when will my love just spell, sing, talk to me normally, and everything will be fine because he talks to me much less now,
Mm,
and I don't know what is going on in his mind.
mm,
So that's the question.
yeah. I mean, we don't know what's going on in another person's mind, but we can only connect with our own senses: touch, taste, smell, intuition. And
Hmm.
I find, like, in the sex magic workshop that I'm teaching at the end of September in Toronto, you can tap into your senses. And so, Sophia, you're asking this question: connect with your senses: taste, touch, smell, sound. Maybe take an hour and kind of work through stations in your kitchen: taste, touch,
Mm.
smell, sound. And then go again, rotate, rotate. It'll activate your intuition. And I think your answer, Sophia, for Jaspal might be resting in your intuition. And so to bring that forward, activate your senses.
Mm.
And that is a form of divination.
Yeah.
True. Well
Yeah,
said.
absolutely. And it's so funny. I
Yeah.
wanted to ask you really quickly before I ask you another magical question. But what part of Toronto? Because I'm from Toronto myself.
Yeah. Parkdale, which is like a little community known as Little Tibet
Hmm.
in Toronto.
Hmm.
And so it's in a beautiful home in Parkdale. You can go to communityoutwitch.ca
Hmm.
and they're doing registration there.
Okay.
2 days. So the first day is a solo experience. The second day you can bring your partner. And then,
Wow.
and it's really like a beautiful experience of the wheel of consent. Like, what's our hell yes? What's our hell
Yes.
no? And what's our maybe, which is a no?
Right.
And if
Hmm.
we know that for ourselves, like,
Yeah.
then we know how to share that with another.
Right. Right.
Well, yes.
Yes.
And so important.
Parkdale.
That
Where are
that
you? Where are you
communication is
from,
so
Star,
important.
in Toronto?
My mom used to live in Flemington Park, but then she moved up to Don Mills Road, up further up north by Fairview Mall, over there.
Right on.
She went from having a house to she doesn't want to shovel snow anymore to living in an apartment building, which she says she's fine with. And as you get older, things change. Whereas as I get older, I want to go in a house and I want to stay there and never be, be away.
Never leave.
So it's
Totally,
kind of switched around, to each his own.
totally
And,
understand.
Yeah.
and the topic you both are speaking about right now brings us to something of our next question, which is the question of
Yes.
community.
Oh, go ahead.
And your work specifically with community, or the community of magical practitioners, or the broader community that you move in. So tell us more about how you're working within the communities that you move between
Yeah.
or move in.
Yeah, that's a great question because I think many of us know about covens or circles, and they're not that easy to form, like I think you form, you storm, and you norm. And you almost have to
Mm-hmm.
prepare for the storm. Like, what happens when we have
Yeah.
microaggressions in a circle or a
Mhm.
coven?
Yeah.
What happens when we disagree with the facilitation, or because we have so much like almost trauma based on our patriarchal power empire? How do we
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
practice something new when we've had no practice at all?
Right.
So
Right. Right.
in which school we teach conflict resolution in sacred space? That's a pretty hardcore course. Like,
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
do we build community when we disagree, when we have different tone of voices and different histories?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I think that's probably the primary piece of work that I value in the community that I'm in. Building community
Mm-hmm.
outward is I love our alumni community. So after 11 months of witch school, you sort of graduate into this wider community of actually quite a few Americans, because they sort of
Mm,
love Canada. And I love all
Yeah.
the Americans that love Canada. I'm like, yeah, come on up. You know,
yeah,
we
yeah,
love you.
yeah.
But it's a whole lot of Canadians. And they form their affinity groups. So we have like tarot groups that are just devoted to reading tarot every single morning at 6 a.m. We have a kitchen witching group. They brew fire cider every September.
Mm,
We have a death doula group that
mm,
really support those of us that are either burying our parents or we're dealing with death in our immediate lives,
Grieving
or
and
just want to talk
mhm.
about it, you know, and not be afraid.
Yeah.
So, community seems to me to be a series of circles of interest
Mhm.
that then we make sacred, but we have to protect and bolster because conflict comes no matter what. We have to know what to
Yes.
do.
yeah.
That's fabulous. Thank you for sharing all of that.
And it's so funny
Yeah.
because we teach that in our different schools and classes, right? I believe you do it as well, Rhonda, right? But we prepare
Yeah.
our
Mhm.
priestesses and stuff with that and reverence because they have to have that under their belts. Um, Handle it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's a part of it is kind of learning to just kind of say, fuck it. Sorry. We can't cover
Mhm.
everybody and we can't be all to everybody. So if this is something that we, with all of our different things we can cover and help you with, then, form your own and
Yeah.
find your own way with it, because sometimes you just can't help everybody. It's
Yeah.
just what it is.
Yeah.
So great. Yes, absolutely. So the next kind of question kind of segues into another part is what would you like to see us as witches accomplish in general?
Yeah. I,
Mhm.
lately, I've been talking to a lot of witches that identify as healers. Predominantly, they're in
Mhm.
the nursing profession or psychotherapy or medical practitioners. And I'm seeing them like literally burn out. Like,
That's a
really,
very hot topic for me with certain things. But yeah, go ahead.
I'm really watching them like struggle to stay above water.
Yeah.
And I think we have a harsh hand on the humanness of being a healer. So my
Mhm.
wish, my want would be to look at our fellow humans, and they're not
Yeah.
deities, right?
Right.
Yeah.
They're humans with human stories, and they too are figuring it out. And so when they
Yeah.
are, at the emergency with you, and maybe one of them holds your hand, but most of them don't, just know that they
Mhm.
all have backstories and they
Yes.
are all trying really hard, like above and beyond what they're being paid.
Yeah.
And so I care quite a bit about how we look at healers in the world. Is that the risk is that similar to the burning times, we look at the
Mhm.
healers that stood above the birthing mothers who died, and because they
Yeah.
died, we accuse them
Yeah.
when they were just humans witnessing a woman dying.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Well, part of that whole thing is just interesting because recently we were discussing that and speaking to people about healers and healing and the actual word healing. And we kind of have to stand back, which is why I've noticed a lot of you just said it, a lot of people that identified as healers were saying how much they were burnt out or different things like that. And part of that, and that again, you mentioned the burning times, and I think that we need to step back. Do not call ourselves healers, but people who are, we utilize tools around us to help heal whatever person or whatever thing that's going on in the human body. And that would take us away from us being always identified as someone who's infallible or who is give me your all, and
Mhm.
all of that. And we tend to take on a lot of that, and it's damaging us, our bodies, our
Mhm.
psyche, and all of that. So it's a case of
Mhm.
like take a step back and don't identify necessarily as a healer, but someone who has the means of utilizing different tools that may heal you. Period.
Yeah.
And that way it you kind of removing yourself from that. So even if they want to blame you, they're like, well, I've used all the tools I've had. The last part I'm not giving is just myself. I'm not giving that.
That's right.
The full,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Boundaries.
All right.
Boundaries. Yeah, that's a huge
It is.
topic. Um, Going on to a different topic though. So what projects are coming up next, or what things are you thinking about taking on?
Mm.
You just came out of as you mentioned before, Pleasures of Beltane. What other things are coming up, or projects are you working on?
Yeah. Yeah, I love so I love teaching witch school. And so on October
Mhm.
25th, we're starting our online witch school. It's an 11-month program. I just adore it. It's 13 students. We do 3 cohorts a year. So one in October, one in January, and one in May. Um,
Beautiful.
and like they then go on to alumni and they create more and more and more small group communities, some of them geographical that are meeting in parks and beaches and in people's houses. And I love
Fabulous.
that. And, my goal has always been like, whew, how do I help foster an intergenerational spiritual community so that when we're old and gray, we
Mhm, mhm.
can like rely on one another.
Yeah,
And so that's something I care deeply about. And the witch school enrollment is on our website, and it's a lovely
mhm.
admissions process. You fill out an intake interview, we have a phone conversation, and then you're set up for your first class on October 25th on Zoom. And I
Beautiful.
love that. Like, I love the program. I've been doing it now for 7 years.
That's
Um,
That
great.
is awesome.
there's almost 18 teachers that join me, all teaching different things within the year. And then those teachers offer second level programs on a need basis. And then
Right.
there's our Sex Magic workshop, and that's September 30th, October 1st in Toronto. So if you want to travel and hang out
Excellent.
in Toronto, lots of good
Hey, right
Airbnbs.
on.
Yeah. And what a wonderful opportunity to like grab someone you're hot on and bring them to the
Mhm.
weekend and pay Canadian dollars
Yep.
and come on to the workshop in Parkdale. And it's 10 to 4, lunch is provided. Um, it's nothing too embarrassing.
Right
Does
on.
talk about and share, and we deal with experiences of intimacy, sensuality, and what consent
Beautiful.
looks like. But second day is about like charging an intention and making magic through sensual play with another person. So it does get a little bit hot.
That's awesome. I look, I'm all in. I've been selling sensual products or adult novelties, whatever you choose to
Yeah.
call them, for 17 years now. It's my world. Right? I'm good with this. And, that conversation is a good conversation. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. You started and you mentioned some of the events you're doing as well as the projects, but any other events you want to tell anybody else about other than the ones you mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, Pleasures of Beltane in Northern California was such a wonderful experience. The Reclaiming Collective is doing something really groundbreaking. For those of
Mm,
my fellow, like queer and loving and trans folks out there who are trying to figure out like what it is to be in your body sensually and sexually, the Pleasures of Beltane camp in May is quite a
mm,
delight. And I feel like they take such a like responsible approach, caring approach. It's like wonderful for young people that are trying to sort this out in a pagan way, using ritual and self-care and their belief system. One of the things I loved when I was out there was seeing like second and third generation pagan young adults who had grown up like with parents that are pagan, and maybe
that's
they were activists in the 70s. And so you have these young 20 something people that are trying to sort out like what does the next generation iteration look like. And I just spent a lot of time with wonderful folks, like navigating what is like self-care for them, what is love for them, what is sexuality for them. I walked around giving like meaningful, high quality parental hugs.
That is
And I think
awesome.
like
That is
that's what
awesome.
I have to offer, is that there are some of us that have a lot to give around love and care for young people. And I'm not saying go out and hug everyone, but there's a lot of compassion that we need to give young people right now. They went through COVID, 9/11, like their lives, climate disaster, like their lives are very different than ours. And I'm 55.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I'm not saying like go out and hug young people, but have the compassion that they are carrying the world's problems on their shoulders.
Actually, a lot of young
Yeah.
people have become activists because there's a lot of them that have taken up the mantle that I'm so proud of, because they're living in a time of a lot of mass shootings in their schools and
Yeah.
having to do drills. I've never heard of drills before in Canada in my entire life in a school
That's so
for
shame.
mass shooting. You know what I'm talking about, Kiki. We never
Yeah.
heard of those things. And that's what we hear with some people. And that's kind of sad that they have to pick up those things. And then, of course, there's Roe versus Wade with the abortion rights and all, or pro life and all the different things
Yeah.
that everyone has. There's a lot that they have to relitigate because we already did it, but they have to go back and restart again. So it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
It's very sad.
All right.
So we've come through all of these things. So excuse me. Thank you for the updates on current projects, upcoming projects, the new school year, sessions that you're hosting, this upcoming sensuality special. What was
Yeah.
the name of the event coming up in
Matt,
the end of the month? Yes.
Sex and magic. Okay.
Excuse me for the tickle in my throat, but thank you very much for joining
Yes.
us tonight, Kiki. I'm
Yeah.
scrolling your info again.
Yeah. Don't forget to go and check it out and see if there's anything there that's delightful for you to join up with. That'd be great.
thank you so much
Thank
for
you
having me,
so
Star. And like Rhonda, you two are amazing.
Yeah,
thank
thank
you
you so much.
so
And so you
very
and we wanted
much.
to thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Thank you.
Excellent. And now a message from our sponsors.
All right. So tonight, the astrology that we're working on is a bit further insights into the Saturn return and how it affects each sign. So again, just a reminder, the Saturn return is the exact snapshot of the sky on the date, the place, and time that you were born, which means it lands in the same place in the sky it did when you were born, roughly around the time you turn or between 29 and a half to 30 years old. That is referred to as a return. Okay? So essentially, a person crosses over a major threshold and enters the next stage of life. When you are going through your Saturn return, you're experiencing how you're evolving and transforming with time itself. It's associated with major life changes like career changes, breakups, engagements, marriages, relocations, divorce, career breakthroughs, retirement, all of that, and more. So look back on your life, and you may find that some of its most impactful events coincided with your Saturn returns.
Good
So we can
point.
check that out.
Yes. So, what's important? What's the importance of your Saturn return in astrology? Nothing about Saturn is casual. The proverbial daddy of the zodiac and sixth planet from the sun is astrologically associated with time, regulations, and boundaries. On a good day, it symbolizes hard work, long term excuse me, long-term accolades and incomparable resolve. On the bad days, it's harsh, critical, and unforgiving. The planet abides by a tough love approach, demanding we learn lessons, but the hard way. That's because Saturn is the cosmic taskmaster, the demanding teacher who presents you with obstacles and challenges so you can gain strength and wisdom. Saturn's position in your birth chart reveals your major life lessons as well as the fears you have to overcome to achieve success. So, the first return at the end of your 20s is meant to kickstart your adulthood. It occurs approximately, again, as Star was saying, around that 29 and a half. So between every 27 to 29 and a half years, falling between the ages of 27 and 30. The second return in your mid 50s helps give your life and work a higher meaning. You are seeing a maturity in who you are between 56 and 60 years old. Finally, your third return is usually in your 80s and focuses on what you wish to leave the world and when you go, your legacy. And that's usually between the ages of 84 and 90. Depending on where your birthday is and it spans for approximately 2.5 to 3 years. So there's that easing in to a Saturn return and that fading out of a Saturn return. There's that whole period of
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so we know that the Saturn return began on March 7th of this year, and it's
Mhm.
going to go to all the way to 2026 March 7th as well. So Saturn is about structure, and Pisces is the sign of surrender. So energetically, it feels a bit like a sandcastle stay or build a sandwich out of soup. Pisces is unruly and untethered, and though Saturn might not be able to discipline the way it wants, it can provide direction and show up your purposes. So how does it affect each sign between now and 2026? For Aries, Saturn's move through um, Pisces and will affect your 12th and final house of karma, shadow, and surrender, giving you karmic closures. The great teacher is pushing you to break ties with friends, beliefs, and former versions of yourself that are limiting your potential for progress. Sometimes survival means severance. Believe me,
Mhm.
believe that. May all your
Mhm.
cuts be clean. Ending Endings may make way for new beginnings. You're ready for a change of scenery. So Saturn is saying it's time to sweep away the cobwebs and get ready for the next chapter in your life. This period is about looking inward and figuring out what it's time to let go of. Okay? And just do it clean and
Perfect.
cut and get rid of it.
Like that. So for Taurus, Saturn is spinning its rings and throwing its rule book in your 11th house of community, commitments, and social networks. You need time, distance, and discernment to discover who you are destined to walk through life with and towards. Think real hard and say no to anything and everyone that doesn't give you a distinct jolt throughout your body. Saturn in Pisces is initiating a review yeah, of your friendships and how they fit into your life. Choose solitude over stale or idiotic conversations. Point. Keep an out for anything and anyone that gives you a cold chill or a quickened pulse. Changes to your inner circle, whether it's a dramatic falling out or the making of an unlikely friend, something to pay attention to, and practice patience, but stand your ground too.
Okay. And for Gemini, Saturn in Pisces is affecting your 10th house of public image, professional life, personal legacy, sparking realizations in this realm. So it covers all of that. So here dwells not only the mark you are meant to make on the world, but the
Mm,
history created that informs the making of that mark. Very distinct about that. Saturn in Pisces asks that you consider your work life balance, kind of, make sure it's not doesn't get one over the other, placing emphasis on true fulfillment rather than fulfilling a dream that doesn't belong to you. Okay? Don't do other people's dreams. Things are things are heating up in your and it in your life, and it could be time to reroute. Saturn wants you to get serious about your work and your public standing. A word of advice: avoid distractions that may have been deterring you from progressing.
Excellent. For Cancer, Saturn is kicking around your ninth house of education, exploration, and expansion. In order to free your mind, you will first have to open yourself to receive the mentors that can teach you and the messages that can shape you. If you seek earnestly to learn and apply yourself purposefully to listening, you are already limitless. Have you been stuck in a rut? Saturn in Pisces could be causing a bit of strain, but when it comes to expanding your knowledge and experiences, it's also a time to have you focus on and perhaps rethink your beliefs around the world in general.
Mm, good thinking. For Leo, that stern daddy Saturn is in your eighth house of sex, taboos, death, and rebirth or resurrection. You are shedding a skin and stepping into a different sunlight. Saturn is kicking the crutches out from underneath you and cutting out dependencies that are detrimental to your evolution. And we know that is true
Mhm.
about dependencies. It's time to let go of unwanted energy without holding back. You have the power, utilize it. Saturn is encouraging a deep dive of your psyche and a look at your relationship with control. I know how that feels. What made you feel secure before could be the very thing that now is holding you back. Like birth itself, it won't be easy, pretty, or anything short of miraculous.
Right on. For Virgo, Saturn is now transiting in your seventh house of partnerships and mirroring. You are versed in viewing yourself as a service provider, delivering what others want before you decide definitively what it is that you need, even giving away things that you may need. You've likely been doing a lot of personal maintenance these past few years. Saturn will see to it that you learn your needs and what you need is not your weakness. The boundaries are not walls, and asking requires as much grace as giving. It's time to focus on growing in or perhaps out of your relationships. Saturn will be forcing a review of your one on one partnerships, and new people could enter your life while others with whom you have shaky foundations will exit. Again, time to let go of what doesn't serve.
Let go, let flow. I remember.
Yep,
Okay,
that's it.
the next one is Libra. Saturn is doing its work in your sixth house of habits, and daily rituals will push you to manage your everyday schedule more closely. You are indecisive by nature and non committal by default, but the great teacher is here to remind you that passivity is its own choice. With an emphasis on daily ritual and routines, practice operating from a place of true desire rather than application. Carefully allocating your energy and delegating tasks to others could prove to be super important right now. Balance may come to you naturally, but setting and sticking to those boundaries is the main lesson Saturn in Pisces is looking to teach you. So learn
Right
it
on.
well.
Right on. All right, Scorpio. Sweet, sweet Scorpio. My kind. The doom and drudgery of lost cause romances has been haunting you long enough. Saturn is moving through your fifth house of fertility and flings, imagination and pleasure. The duality of Saturn's tough love and Pisces' light-hearted energy could create some confusion for you. Chill thrills and half hearted attempts at making art and making love may have lost their charms, and thus the time is nigh to redefine what a good time and full expression look like to you. Saturn wants you to take joy seriously and treat creativity as a plant that requires daily daily diligence and utmost respect. Saturn will have you taking a hard look at your ego and self expression. This transit is pushing you to think about how much or how little these things play a role in your life now and how much they could. Tend to your potential.
All right. So Sagittarians, for free spirited Sagittarians, footloose and fancy free, that home is more of a concept than concrete reality. Okay. Saturn is calling you to consider where you come from and where you are going, and how the absence of a sense of home makes the former unresolved and the latter impossible. As the poet Kathleen Norris maintains, peace, that was the other name for home. It definitely is true. Just having peace and harmony in your home these days is a hard thing. Okay, prepare to get sentimental during this period. Saturn will expect you to explore your roots and your concept of home. That could mean managing major family drama, or perhaps just coming to the realization that you should probably clean out a closet or two, or few, meaning human beings as well. That does not need to be there for you anymore. Rhonda, did you freeze? Or did I freeze? Rhonda? Rhonda? Can you hear me?
Oops.
Did I freeze or did you
Yeah.
freeze? Okay, so go ahead. Are you there? Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead then. I believe I'm the one that's going still, right? Oh, can you hear me, Rhonda?
I hear you now. I hope you can hear me now. We're having storms up
Yes.
here. The connection keeps going in and out. So my apologies for the
Okay.
wonkiness, everybody. We were just wrapping up Capricorn, right? Or is that
Yeah,
Sagittarius?
I
I'm
didn't
going to
even
do
start it. No,
Capricorn.
that's you.
I'm
You're doing
doing Capricorn. I'm
yes.
doing Capricorn. So Saturn, our dark overlord, is your planetary ruler, making you better equipped than most to handle the lessons he hurls at everyone. As the planet moves through your third house of communications, information, and the minutia of the everyday, you may feel like editing yourself and or avoiding conversation more than usual. This discernment is a path to refinement, shaping both the speaker you will be and the audience you are meant to appeal to. You might find yourself unlearning a few bad communication habits or perhaps outgrowing a few people in your orbit. Friendships might feel taxing for you, and the small talk could become burdensome.
All right. Aquarians. Saturn is exiting your sign after a restrictive residency, but you have been purified by this punishment, if you see it as such. Hopefully, Saturn has taught you that you are a rare and precious being with singular gifts to bestow.
Yeah.
The focus on your second house of values, tangible goods, resources, and finances, and self evaluation. And it calls you to apply who you are to what you pursue, how you spend, and in what form, and in what and with whom you invest your time. Know your worth and reflect it in every choice you make. Saturn's trek through Pisces could place limits on your spending or push you to reconsider where your true value lies. Saturn's assignment to you is to witness how the world pays you back for your expression of self worth.
And finally, for you Pisceans out there, though it might not feel like it, with Saturn in your sign, it is on it. With Saturn, sorry, let's try this over. While it might not feel like it, Saturn in your sign is on your side. Saturn is a great punisher, but also a great builder. And his residency in Pisces poses the opportunity to strip away the superfluous and give scaffolding to your authentic self. Transits in the 12th house of travel, journey, and higher studies, right? That's the area you're going through. And Saturn traversing your territory may induce some imposter syndrome. But know that the personal changes that you'll make in the next couple of years with Saturn's influence will help shape you into your most mature self. Exactly what that looks like is for you to define with time. So, any illusions or projections about your personality will be removed during this period.
All right.
So, yeah, that's a lot of information, but a little something for every sign.
Yes, and I hope you yeah, got all that information, and you can always play back the recording to hear a lot of it. Okay.
Yes, yes. All right. So next.
All right. So the tarot card that you'll be pulling is one card again, as usual, but you're going to pull and how it's going to affect your sign regarding the Saturn return within your sign, within Pisces for you, and what your sign was told for you, and see if and a lot of that you see is correct for you, or you already know a lot of it is either correct or at least upcoming. Okay. So see how it plays out for you with that card. Let's see what we can pull. I am so hot. It's ridiculous here. Feels like 110 degrees out here and it's nighttime.
Oh,
Oh boy.
so humid.
Okay. All right. So what have you got, Rhonda?
I have the six of this is I'm actually using the Wonderland Tarot, and this is a
Oh
pocket
my
deck. It's
gosh,
in a
that's so
tin.
cool.
It's a cute deck. And this is Alice with some pepper mills. This is the Six of
Is that
Wands. The
Alice in
Six of
Wonderland?
Wands. Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, with the Six of Wands, we think about the energy of what? That what you might consider that energy. As you can see, she's wearing as if she were I guess that's like a queen's the queen if it were the chess deck. I don't know if that's the queen or the king because I don't remember. I haven't played chess in years, but she's wearing the
Yeah.
crown there. And in this card, this card is a card that speaks about the the type of the amount of energy we put into something and how we work through to levels of success. Okay. And it comes through, and here she's putting the crown on her head. So she's clearly feeling some level of achievement or attainment of some kind. Um, and when I think about, the work that lies ahead for Scorpio, and that's my sign, Scorpio, and we talk about, I'm just going to pull back through our notes, and it speaks about the doom and drudgery of lost cause romances. It's time to move past things that are a bit the cheap thrills and half-hearted attempts. This is really talking about, in this card, the Six of Wands. It's talking about acknowledging the efforts that you put into all the work that you do and be successful for the things that you attain. And in this instance, when I look at what this Saturn work is telling us, at least for Scorpio, it's about weeding out what is not quite measuring up. Lighthearted and cheap thrills is not going to meet the goal. That's not going to lead us to this feeling of success. And this is the level that we're trying to get to, a feeling of we're still working our way through it. We're not saying we've reached the top. We're still working our way through it, but we're stepping our way through to small success after small success after small success.
Awesome.
So that's how I'm seeing this
All
card.
right. Okay. And I got the Four of Swords. And if you look at that,
Wow.
isn't that beautiful? I love this deck. This is the Witch's
Hmm.
Tarot by Eden McCoy.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, make sure I got that right. Sorry, Ellen Dugan. Ellen Dugan.
Oh, Ellen
I
Dugan.
think
Oh, yeah,
Witch's
yeah, yeah.
Tarot. And this is I love this deck. And if you look at this woman, and she kind of looks like a cross between a mother. I mean, I'm sorry, a mother and a crone.
Hmm.
Like she's on a cross between there. And the four swords, all four swords are pointing downwards to the earth. but yet at the same time, and to me that's kind of replenishing what's beneath the earth and everything. But the swords, one is in her hand and it's at the ready. It's almost like if in, and then and I look back at my particular reading for Aries, it says, you know, we're in the 12th and final house of karma, shadow, and surrender, giving you karmic closures. And it's also saying that we have to break ties with friends, beliefs, former versions of ourselves, and make sure it's all may all your cuts be clean, ending things and new beginnings and all of that. And talk about so appropriate, so
Yep.
apropos, because this to me is she's holding the sword and she's like the other three are there and she's like, I'll take each one and I'm gonna go cutting through everything. And because they're not like usually the four of swords or any of those things, they're more like pointing towards the person. This one's pointing down to the earth. So to me, she's resting it down for the moment because she's got other things. Like she looks like she has an archery
Yeah.
in an archer's bow and the arrows in one hand and the sword in the other. And it's really interesting because she's basically saying, I'm ready for what's coming next. I need to do what I need to do. She's getting
Yes.
ready for something, and whatever it is, she's like, I'm prepared, I'm ready. And she looks determined, and she looks like, you know, whatever, I'm prepared, I'm coming, bring it, kind of a thing. And I love that.
That is
You know, that's the way
fabulous.
I see it, and that's the way I'm feeling. And it's so
Yep.
apropos for the Aries card and what's coming up throughout between now and 2020, March 7, 2026. It's going to go through all of that time, and you have to think of the different things. And every now and then, we're going to go through and tell you what's happening during that time through with the returns as we go by.
Yes.
This is wonderful. I hope you guys all pull a card for yourself and see what it does with your own
Yes.
and see how helpful it is for you.
It is fabulous. Again, yet again, we have cards that are really digging in to what we're really talking about tonight. And I'm pulling up again. This is the Six of Wands.
Yeah,
It's just, I mean, it doesn't look like it's not a it's a non Rider Waite Smith influenced. It doesn't look like a Rider Waite deck at all,
yeah,
card at all. But it is definitely speaking about what we're able to achieve when we are putting our passions into things. And that is definitely some of the work of what we have to get through right now, for Scorpio anyway.
yeah,
For
yeah,
Scorpio
yeah.
anyway. So,
Awesome.
uh,
So
yes,
let's move on. Oh, and what we want to do is have you join us next week, September
yes,
8th. Oh, wait, this is September 8th. I'm so sorry. Next week, Friday, you can join us with Diana Rajel. She's going to be joining us next week. And don't forget to check out our new shows.
yes. Our 3 shows that we were showing earlier, and we're going to give you a little repeat. And we thank you all for joining us again tonight. Again, sorry for the tech glitches. We're still in that Mercury retrograde, I think. I
Yeah,
don't think we're out
a
of that
few
yet.
retrogrades are going on.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
just a few, right? We have how many? There are several retrogrades going on right now. But in any case, thank you all so much again for joining us tonight. We really appreciate that. Please do again like, subscribe, and
And
share.
again,
And
thanking our guest KIKI Keskinen for being with us tonight
yes,
from Witch School
thank you.
Canada. Please join. Don't forget to check out what she has to offer. And again, I
Yeah.
think Rhonda mentioned it, but like, subscribe to us on YouTube and share and everything else, so we can keep doing what we do. We love doing this with you guys and sharing all of these things. And always ready to give us any
Absolutely.
ideas and thoughts that we can add to the show for you. Just let us know.
Yes, if there's somebody you want us to invite on, let us know.
All right.
Thank you again and have a great week, everyone. See you
Okay.
next
Bye
time.
bye.
Bye-bye.